Hello there, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. So in the previous video, we were able to create the UI components, the visual part of this amazing application that we were building. In this video, we are now going to go ahead and implement everything in Java and put together the code in Java that will then make this application work. Now, before we go any further, I would like to go ahead and add the raw folder here, which will contain our MP3 file that we will be playing. Okay, so let's go here, change this to raw, just leave it at that. And let's go ahead, it's here, so right click, go to Finder, reveal in Finder, and I'm going to transfer our MP3 file into here. That way we are able to, let me go get it, if I can find it, okay. Okay, so there's that one from previous project. Let's go ahead. I'm going to be using the same one, and there it is. Perfect. Now, if we get rid of this and go to our raw here pretty soon, if we just close down here and back, and there it is. There's our game filled MP3. Excellent. Now, let's go to our Java, because this is where we are going to be doing all of our work. First things first, so let's go and create our instance variables. So private button, play button. Okay, so Alt Enter to import our button here. So private, and the next is going to be private media player. You remember this one, media player. Okay. And then let's go and grab our text view. So private text view, let's just call it text. Okay, excellent. So inside here, let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. So, all right, so inside of our on create, let's set things up. So let's say media player is equal to new media player. Okay, and let's create the actual media player. It's going to be equal to media player dot create. Again, it takes in the context and the file that we want to play. So we can say get application context and r dot raw dot game field. And notice again, there's no MP3 file extension there. Perfect. And while we add it, let's get our text. So text is equal to the text view, say find view by ID. I think we called it, what did we call it? Let's go back and see, make sure we actually gave it, yes, we called it artist. All right, let's say then here dot artist name. Perfect. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and set up our play button. So play button is equal to, well, it's a button, so cast that. So find view by ID, r.id dot play button. Excellent. And let's go ahead and make sure we also get other buttons as well. So private button, we're gonna call this, it's our prev button. And do the same to our next button. Okay, let's do here. Go ahead and say prev button is equal to button type. Find view by ID, r.id dot prev button. Very simple. Let's say next button is equal to button. Find view by ID, r.id dot next button. Perfect. Now let's set up our play button here. So say play button dot set on click listener. Now this is how we've always been doing setting our own click listener to a button. It works okay when you have only one button, but when you have more than 1, 2, 3, or 4, even 10, or even 20, depending on your application, then you notice that we have to do the same thing, right, on click listener for this button, and then we have to go prev button, do the same thing, and then go next. I mean, that's a lot of work. There's another way of doing this, right? So that we just get one on click here, right? So the way we do it is we say implement on click listener. And you will get this error here because an implement has some methods that we need to implement. So say implement methods, click that, and set on click view and say OK. And you notice all of a sudden we have this public void on click created here. This is where we are going to be able to, depending on which button it's been clicked, to appropriately respond to that click event listener. Okay? So we don't need to do for each. Now, once we do that, in order to make sure that we are able to fetch the on-click listener for each button, we have to set up the on-click listen still for each button. But now we can say then play button dot set on-click listener, as opposed to say new on-click listener as we've always been doing. We just pass this. Because then what we're saying here is that, well, since we are implementing our on-click listener, we can then use this on-click here, which, as you notice, there is this view passing here. And then inside here, we can respond to the click event, as opposed to instantiate the new on-click listener, right? Class here. So just say this, and we're going to do the same for other ones. So say prev button dot set on click listener, say this, and yes, you guessed it, next button, and this. Now here, because no, this void on click, now we have registered all of the buttons, so all these buttons will be dependent on this on click listener here, because we've implemented the on click listener as a whole for this activity. Now, how do we fetch then? How do we know, okay, which one was clicked? As you see, view v here, so we are passing in on click a view, and we can fetch the view ID. Now remember that a button is a type of view, okay? That's why you said find view by ID here when we are instantiating our buttons and getting their IDs. So what we can do, we can just go ahead and create a switch statement. So a switch statement pretty much is just a way that we can then decide which button was clicked by its ID. So we can say switch, right? And inside we can say v.getID. Which v we're talking about here? Make sure it's actually switch. There we go. Now, which v you may ask we're talking about? Well, is this v here that's been passed in here, which is a view. And then inside here, then we can just say case where r.id dot, let's say, is play button. Then we want to do play music. And we have to break so that we can start the next statement here. And then we can say case r.id.prev button and do something and break. And we can say case r.id.next button colon and then do something and then break. Of course, again, you could have done the way we've been doing, but this is more cleaner and more efficient because we don't have 10 or 3 different on-click listeners that we're setting up. Excellent. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and create a few methods here. Now, the first method, of course, it's going to be public void play music. So we're going to say if media player is not equal to null, then okay, let's go and play. Let's say media player dot start. And once it starts, let's go ahead and change our text. So text dot set text. We want it to say music playing now. And while we're here, let's go ahead and change the image of our button. So if you go back to our application here, if you go pause, you see change to play, because now we're saying, okay, it's paused. That means you can go back and play again and pause. It changes. So we want to mimic that as well. So what we're gonna do then here, inside of our play music, we're gonna say then play button dot set background drawable, okay, and say get resources dot get drawable, and inside we're gonna say Android, because remember we are getting all of these icons from Android. R dot drawable dot IC pause. And let's go ahead and create another one method. Say public void pause music. And this one, same thing, if media player is not equal to null, we can say media player dot pause, of course, and then we can set our text, set text to music paused. And we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. So we're gonna copy this and paste here, except now we're gonna change to IC media play. Let's go ahead and put together the public void prev music. Even though we're not going to implement anything here, I'm going to leave it up to you to, as an exercise, to implement things. I'm going to go ahead and put together the skeleton so that it's easier for you to build upon that. Okay, so it's going to same thing. If media player is not equal to null, I want you to go ahead and do something there. So you can do whatever you want. You can decide to, let's say, to pause the player or to reset it. I'll just leave that as an exercise for you. Let's do the same thing. Let's just copy this and do the same for our next music. You're gonna do something. So, but the most important one here are the pause music and the play music. Excellent. And while we're here, let's go ahead and make sure that we are good programmers by overriding the onDestroy. So command new, go to override, and then just say onDestroy. Just type it and then say OK. And we're gonna go ahead and say, let me give it more space here. So we're gonna say if media player is not equal to null and media player that is playing, then we want to say media player stop and then media player dot release, because again, memory issues, we always want to be responsible and release what we don't need anymore. And the final contract, make the media player null. Okay, this will always be called when the application is pretty much being booted out of the operating system. Okay, it's been killed off. Perfect. So now we have it all set up, but except we forgot to actually call this method here. So let's do this. So now in our onClick method for our music, what we can say here, we can say if media player that is playing, we can just go ahead and say pause music, because we want to give them the option of playing the music. Else, let's just say start play music. Okay, and of course here that's where you would call the prev music, these methods here that we didn't implement, that I'll leave up to you to implement. You can just put it here and the next here. Okay, so let's save this and give it a try, and hope that we did everything all right and everything should work. So it's running, and there it is. There's our SoundBox app. Let's go ahead and say play. Oh, how nice. Look at that. That's perfect. Let's go pause. Let's play again. I love it. Let's pause. And I love the way it looks here, but let's give it a background here. Since we did create this buttons background gradient here, let's just use it. Okay, so let's go back to our activity main here. In our layout here, because remember, this is our layout. All of these buttons are inside of our layout, linear layout here. So what we're going to do, we're going to say background and go, it's a drawable, so we're going to say buttons, background, save, and all of a sudden you're going to see, oh yes, look at that. It changed. It's amazing how just small changes just make a huge difference, right? So let's save this and run again. All right, so it's running. So you can see the difference now here. Look, there's not, I mean, it still looks great, but when you add that background, it's just something that changes. Yeah, so let's go okay here. Let's keep running. And there it is. Perfect, looks great. Let's go play. Oh, look at that, great sound. Let's pause, let's play again. Let's pause, let's play again. Let's pause and play again. All right, I won't bore you now. So as you can see, we've created a fun, beautiful, good-looking SoundBox music player app, right? So you can improve upon this. You can go ahead and put an image here. You can move this text a little bit over there, or put it something else below here. Now you know about list views. You can actually create a little list view here with different MP3 files, right? You can put more. You can go ahead and get more MP3 files here, and you create a little list here. So when they click, let's say on the first one, it's going to play that particular song. And if you want to change, so you can do a lot of things with this. So, you know, be bold, go ahead and play around with this and create your own apps, because you have all the tools to go and explore more. Okay. Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I mean, I work really hard to make this as fun and as educational as possible, so that you actually learn stuff. But and I believe that it's important to learn things while having fun, because then things stick, right? And I hope you're having fun, as much fun as I am having fun doing these videos, these lectures, and this course, right? And so, but go ahead and experiment more and build your own little apps using all the knowledge you've learned in this video or previous videos as well, and share all of your apps that you build with all of us in the discussion boards. I would love to see what you come up with. Okay? Well, thank you again for your hard work, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.